What's going on, and welcome back to another gear review and setup. And in this video we're going to be talking about the Longship Designs Flashbang pouch. Now, a quick disclaimer: this is one of the older versions that has an open top. The newer versions do have an additional flap that's going to come up and over and then velcro into place as an additional means of retention and safety for this pouch with some of the equipment that you can throw inside of it. So something to think about, especially as I talk through the entire video. Realize that this is one of the older versions. There is a newer version, but if you do get one of the newer versions and you don't want that flap out there and you don't want to utilize it, you can just tuck it into the interior and then shove your flashbang, smoke grenade, initiating system, whatever, inside of the pouch. With multi-tools, I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend utilizing the flap because this pouch will not retain a multi-tool. Just because of the way it's set up and designed. So with that, diving right into it, this guy's going to cost you just over 25 bucks. It does come in a couple of colors and camo patterns, so you have some options as far as setting this up specific to the environment that you're working in. So with that, I prefer just using solid colors like a lot of my kit because camo patterns typically change, where if you have a solid color kit, it's a little bit easier to adapt to the environments that you're working in. So that's why I always have tan and green. With that though, overall construction is very simple. You have about 4 inches of elastic that's going to run all the way around, and that's going to be your primary means of retention for pretty much everything that you see here: flashbangs, smoke grenades, initiating systems. There are some guys running tourniquets in these as well, so that is something that you can do with this. From there, you have 1 inch of nylon webbing that's going to run from the top all the way around, and then the newer version has that additional flap and velcro on the front side. And then you have your 2 loops up top here for your elastic bungee, and then your drawstring clamp as well. And then on the back side, you do have a little bit of molly, so that way you can molly this into whatever platform that you want. With the newer versions, this clamp is just relocated to either the left or right side. So it's still there, it's just a little bit different in that regard, so that way it doesn't get in the way with the velcro interfacing on the front side and making sure that everything is secure in the way that it needs to be. With that, when you compare this to some of the other products on the market, this is probably one of the most, if not the most, streamlined and just straight to the point pouches on the market. The next best, I would say, when it comes to being as close to this, is going to be the Tier Tactical. It does have a little bit more structure and rigidity with the way that that pouch is designed, because it's an entire, essentially just 500 denier Cordura pocket that has a flap and then a buckle incorporated into it, depending on which version that you go with. So you do have some options in comparing all of the different systems on the market. So this definitely has a hand up as being one of the most, I would say, secure as far as retention goes, with the elastic and the drawstring and then the flap up top, and then the Tier Tactical is going to be right behind it. This just kind of has a hand up when it comes to being more streamlined and low profile. So Multitools being the exception to that. So talking about kind of setup and configuration with some of the different stuff that you can throw inside of it. You can throw flashbangs, whether it's the IWAs like this one or the military versions that are out there. And then there's another one, CTS I think is the other one, for kind of more law enforcement use. So you can throw all 3 versions inside of the pouch without any issues. There's some safety stuff when it comes to spoons and rings and all that I'll get to here in a little bit, and that's kind of where you see the big difference in between Tier and Longship Designs design of their flashbang pouch. Next, you can definitely fit the Enola Gay burst smoke grenades, or the twin-sided smoke grenades, whatever they call it now. You can fit those inside of this pouch, and then you can also fit initiating systems, multi-tools, and like I said, tourniquets. There's a couple of other things that I've seen guys throw in there, but these are kind of the primary things that I've seen put inside of all of these pouches. So when you're actually setting this whole thing up and kind of testing the system to make sure that it's retaining everything, I would make sure that this shock cord is nice and loose, and then you can just throw whatever item in there, grab the bottom of it, and then shake it a little bit to see if it's going to come out. For the most part, I haven't had any issues with Enola Gay smoke, flashbangs, and initiating systems. Multitools is where this really does kind of not retain things that well. So if you're going to utilize this for a multi-tool, make sure that you're utilizing the Velcro flap that's on the top of this. I prefer using Tier Tactical's flashbang pouch with the buckle for multi-tools, just because I have the buckle and Velcro retaining this, and then a closed bottom, so I don't risk the multi-tool sliding out on either side of the pouch. So that's my preference when it comes to multi-tools, but you still can use this for multi-tools. So I'm going to throw that over there. Initiating systems real quick, just so that way you can see. Grab that from the bottom, and it's not going to come out. So when it comes to comparing, actually before I get into comparing it, when it comes to these Enola Gay flashbang pouch, or Enola Gay smoke grenades, and putting it inside of the flashbang pouch, depending on how you have this configured, you definitely want to consider how you're going to insert this inside the pouch. If you're going to keep it open topped, insert the top of the flash or the smoke grenade into the pouch, so that way you're protecting the rings or that pull ring from getting pulled inadvertently and then causing this whole entire system go off on your back. That way when you pull this out, the ring is exposed, you pull it and then throw it. If you have the version or the newer version with the top flap, you can just put it in as normal with the cap up top, pull it out of the pouch, pull the smoke grenade out, and then the cap comes off and you have that ring exposed. So really, either way, you can actually run it either way. Even if it had the flap, I might even set this up with the cap on the bottom, so that way when I pull this out, it's ready to pull that pin and you're good to go. And then if you need to reinsert it, you're just pushing that pin or that ring back in and then setting it up as so. And then if you have the flap, you can run that flap over the top. So that's kind of the smoke grenade piece when it comes to running Enola Gays in these. Out. When it comes to flashbangs, this is where I think there is some places and organizations that take safety a little bit further than others. It's not a bad thing. It is just what it is. But there are some things when it comes to this guy versus the Tier Tactical where you do have a little bit more protection of your spoon and your ring with Tier Tactical system. Even though this has essentially two safeties on it, you have to rotate the pin before even being able to pull out the pin to get this to fire. You still have this entire spoon exposed, and with some of the military stuff, the spoon can still be exposed with this pouch. So with the Tier Tactical, it does a little bit better job of protecting the spoon and the ring and ensuring that those aren't exposed and inadvertently getting pulled. So you definitely assume a little bit more risk with this system, but with how streamlined and simple it is, my personal opinion, as long as you have the ring facing your body and there's no way that it can get pulled out, you're definitely still in a good place. But the Tier Tacticals will definitely protect your rings and your spoons a little bit better, especially with these IWA version or the IWA version of flashbangs with the plastic spoon and how much it protrudes outside the body of the actual flashbang. This can easily get caught on the terrain or the environment that you're working with and break off. It's not the end of the world if it happens. The military systems are all pretty much metal spoons, where this is going to be plastic, so those aren't going to break off. So protecting those spoons is a little bit more important in my opinion in regards to the military systems. But with that, when it comes to setting this guy up or any flashbang in the pouch, you're just going to slide that flashbang in. Ensure that your bungee cord is on the interior of the spoon and the front of the flashbang, so then that way when you cinch all of that down, it's going to give you that additional means of retention and holding that flashbang inside of the pouch. And then when it comes to employing it, it's just going to pull right out like so. So really easy employment when it comes down to it. I definitely prefer the long ship designs and Tier Tacticals over some of the kind of plastic Kydex versions of flashbang pouches. I think when it comes to having a more streamlined product and ease of employment when it comes to the systems that you're running, this guy definitely has the hand up alongside the Tier Tactical. But I definitely want you guys to have things to think about in comparing Tier Tactical and these guys, because as much as I love these guys, there are places that are going to require, like, hey, you have to protect the spoon and the ring, and that needs to be inside of the pouch, where some places you don't have to do that, and you assume a little bit more risk. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free and ask. We'll help you out in any way that we can. And with that, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.